Hello everyone, welcome back to everyone who subscribed. So today I want to talk about my Frontosa colony and what's been going on with me for the last I think it's about 4 months. So I haven't really posted as much, but what it is, what's going on is anyone who's followed the channel probably remember me buying these Frontosas like fry nearly 12 months ago now, and it just had like a massive impact on my hobby. Anyone who doesn't know, I kept like goldfish exclusively, fancy goldfish, like around the ranchu for like 20 years, from everything from like small tanks, big tanks, paddling pools, and like I had a 20,000 litre pond at one point full of ranchu and around there, and that was my hobby for about 20 years. And then I got into reef keeping, and my friend convinced me to get into reef keeping, so I let go of all my goldfish and bought this tank, and I set up an SPS dominated reef tank, and I ran it for about 2 years, something like that. And then I had a crash, and then I set it all back up with all the corals out my frag tank, and I started again, and I ran it for about 2 years again, something like that ballpark, and it crashed again. And apparently that's like a regular thing in reef keeping. And then I was just about to start setting it up again with all the frags and stuff, and I came across a practical fish keeping article on, it was titled something like the freshwater reef of Lake Tanganyika, and I read it and I found it fascinating. I was associated African cichlids with Malawi up to that point, probably in the hobby for about 25 years maybe at that point, maybe a bit more. And I read it, and I ended up going out and setting this tank up as like a freshwater reef. I had shells down here, I had the big rock structure over here, and I had shell dwellers, I had rock dwellers, I had the lupi. I was in the market to buy some Cyphotilapia leptosoma, the sardine cichlids, and some gobies, and I wanted the crabs from Lake Tanganyika and all stuff like that. But what happened was, I was buying them, and within a month they'd start breeding, and they'd breed, and I'd kind of grow them out and let them go to anyone who was interested locally in buying like the likes of Shardy, Lulupi, shell dwellers, stuff like that. And what I found was the market saturated pretty fast, and I was taking them in the fish shop and no one wanted them, and I couldn't give these fish away, and they just breed and breed and breed. So I ended up thinking, well, I want more of a challenge, I want something long term. So I'd done a bit more research and I came across Frontosa, and then that's when I set up my first colony, and I had my first colony for roughly about 3 years. I had them in this tank. I started them off in a small tank, got them in this tank, and then I was looking at upgrading to a bigger tank at about the 3 year mark, and it kind of coincided with me moving to this house, so I kind of couldn't do both at the same time. So reluctantly I had to let my Frontosa go at the time, but I always kind of promised myself I'd get back into them. Now, if anyone remembers, when I first set this channel up, I was more like pushing to grow the channel and get fish that I hadn't kept before, and stuff that people would appreciate. But at the time I got Kigoma Frontosa, which is 7-stripe Frontosa, which these are Burundi, which they're like right on the northeast of the lake, and then just underneath you've got Kigoma Frontosa, like 7-stripe Frontosa. They got an extra stripe and a false mask compared to these. Very similar fish, different collection point, but I had them for a while. And if anyone remembers, I set that tank up, and then the electricity bill doubled, and I panicked and got rid of all the fish in the fish house. But yeah, I'm digressing. So then I kind of went back to goldfish, and then got back into tropical fish again, and I got these last August, beginning of last August I think it was, and I bought them as little fry. I've got a couple of little fry over there. So yeah, I bought these, I grew these out, and I just kind of thought, like, I found I was going out and sitting and watching these for hours, and I wasn't paying any attention to any of the other fish. I had set this tank up as a blackwater tank. I had Geophagus, I had Rio Nane, I had L183 Starlight Bristlenose, and I just found I wasn't interested. I was just interested in these guys. So I brought them in, I put them in the 200 litre tank. So they were in here, shut the fish room down, wasn't interested in anything in the fish room. And then I just kind of, these started getting a bit cramped in that tank. I had 2 big males. Well, I know they're not big in Frontosa term, but they were big for a 200 litre tank. So I moved them in here, and then quickly spotted that they were really competing for territory. And I thought I'd use an opportunity to, thin the colony down. So kind of took, not kind of, it definitely, I took one of the males, the one subdominant to him, and 3 of the other fish to fish shop, and then I got 6 smaller Burundi. I ordered 6 more in, and then I thought, well, it gives me a chance to diffuse the aggression, so I took them to the shop and I brought mine home. The dominant male just didn't see them as part of the colony. They were just little tiddlers to him, so he just focused on this one fish, and he had, I'm assuming it's a female, pinned it in the rock, and he was just overly territorial, just defending his territory. And what I found was, within like a day of getting the fry, like the shop ordered them in, and they handed them straight to me as soon as they came in. I brought them home. Next morning, one was dead, and then morning after, like 2 were dead, and I thought something's not right here. So I dosed it like a Wormer Plus, because they were yawning, they were flashing, and I dosed them with like a Wormer Plus. I dosed them with a wormer, like a flubenzidol, hopefully to any internal, external parasites, and then I smashed them with a course of Escher 2000, and the last 2 pulled through, seem a lot healthier. They're swimming around now. When I first got them, they were like fins clamped on the bottom of the tank, but now they're fine, they're up and about. There's one he hides in the corner, but he's getting more and more confident every day. He comes out, has a nose round, and he goes back to his corner. But these fish are massive compared to him, so he's, when it's feeding time, he'll come out and he'll patrol up and down here getting bits, but he goes back in the corner and stays out of everyone's way. So that's where I'm up to with this tank at the moment. They're coming up to a year. They probably are a year old. I've had them almost a year. Got the male. I had to bring 3 of the smaller fish back from the shop. I had to go back and buy my own fish, because he was on overdrive chasing this one. So I had to go and get these 3, which is showing a bit of territorial dispute. He normally knocks that in the bud. He might not, because he's a bit self-conscious because he's on camera. But you see, like, these territorial disputes, they're not an aggressive, like, but he'll go in and sort them out because he's the boss of the tank. Really cool behaviour. But moving forward with the channel and the Frontosa, like, I'm done with the side of YouTube where it's buy this, buy that, show this off, show that off. I got to the point where I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to focus on my hobby, rather than paying like £100 a month or whatever it was to heat that fish room and light it and run it and whatever. I'm just going to put it into my Frontosa. Like, these fish that, as I've explained, I've got, like 3 years of history with about 4 with like Tanganyika fish, roughly, something like that. Plus, well, actually, I've had 3 years with the other colony, and then this colony's a year, so only about 4 years. And currently in this tank, we've already seen the upgrade. They started in the upgrade, which was like a 5x2x18, I think it was, because I've got the 2 tanks. So look, there's a bit of sparring going on. It's just like territorial. It doesn't really go anywhere, really. They're just sorting the hierarchy out. There's never really any damage or anything. It's not like other cichlids where there's like loads of aggression. He'll probably pop over and stop it, to be honest. Like, as I say, I've already got an upgrade, and I want the tank after. I'm kind of, so I could upgrade them now if I wanted to, but I really like this tank. I've always really liked this tank. I've had such a cool memory. Yeah, there we go. The boss has stepped in. Yeah, so my next goal is to upgrade this tank, and I want to put everything into just upgrading the one tank. And I was looking at a 6B2B2, which would fit in this alcove here, but I'm tempted to go bigger, to be honest. This is the one tank I'm going to keep, so why not like go all in on the one tank? It just makes sense to me. Right guys, this is the filtration. This is the heart of the system. I've got bio bowls which would fill this compartment, put them in there, and then I've got one of the Eheim Wi-Fi heaters. Then all this is a load of marine live rock out of that old reef system I was telling you about, and then you can't really see it because of the bar, but I've got a bag full of crushed oyster shells there just to buffer the water. This also buffers the water as well as letting beneficial bacteria grow on it. And there's also scuds living in there. They blow out into the tank every now and again. The Frontosa gobble them up. And then we've got another heater here, and I've got the internal mechanics at the back of a Seachem Tidal. So if I ever need to set up a filtration system quickly for a new tank, I've got everything already kind of cycled, and then in the corner there I've got the Full Pond Solutions canister filter. I bought that for the Frontosa when they were outside in the tank. I set it up for them, and I just thought, you know what, this, although it's great for biological filtration, it's never been 100% on mechanical. So I thought I'll use that as like a mechanical polisher, and I'll use this as the biological stroke chemical filtration I dose in here. So I dose me pH, GH and KH buffers in here. I mix my own. I don't really... I learned from reefkeeping how to make my own, so I just carried on doing that and applied that to African cichlids. And then we have this tank. This is my 200 litre tank. This is where the Frontosa were. And then when I was shopping for the small Frontosa, these came up. Now these aren't actually Frontosa. These are Gibberosa, the Blue's Eye Ear Moba, Blue's Eye Ear. These are from the south west of the lake, if you like. So different collection point, different species of Cyphotilapia. And I'd always wanted these when I had my last colony. I'd seen them, I thought they were absolutely stunning. So I ended up ordering myself a few. And I ordered 6. And when they turned up during the heat wave. And one just didn't make it. But still got 5. So this is the beginning of something special for me. Obviously I've got 2 Lulupi in there. I've got 4 Lulupi in the other tank. So I've got 6 Lulupi, which I think absolutely complement Frontosa. Gibberosa's blue, like perfectly. The contrast is perfect. Plus, there's never really any interaction between Lulupi, and there's no aggression between Lulupi and Frontosa. So I'm going to raise them together, and that'll be a colony together. So that's where I'm up to with my hobby at the moment. I've got my Frontosa, I've got my Gibberosa Moba, Blue's Eye Ear. What I'm planning on doing is I want to upgrade that tank to something, maybe a 6x2x2 or something a bit bigger. And then once that tank's gone, these guys will go in the big upgrade, and then the Moba should come into here, and then I'll grow them out. I'll have a look, because obviously Frontosa, like they grow between 10 and 14 inches depending on the size and whether they're male or female and stuff. So I'll see if we can get away with maybe keeping a colony in this tank. If not, I can upgrade this tank to a bigger tank, and I could have like a 6-footer here, maybe a 6-footer over, or an 8-footer over there. I'll have to figure it out. But that's my goal. Or maybe I condense it down to 1 colony. I haven't decided yet. They came up, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going for them. So we'll see how we get on, because I love these. These are Frontosa Burundi. And I find these are more like the longer and slimmer, and like a lot more majestic, whereas them a bit more, you know, they're a bit bulkier and slower moving, but the colours are more striking and stuff. The behaviours are a little bit different. So I'm kind of see where they get on. I've got a good 12 months of growing them out in there before anything goes wrong. I know I can grow these out because I've done it, so I know I can get another 12 months. Like these will only put another couple of inches on in the next year, and then like maybe an inch every year after that. So there's that. So they should be fine in here for a little while, and then we can look at upgrading. I could upgrade in the meantime, it's no problem. But that's where I'm at. So that's where I'm at. That's my plans. That's what I want to do with the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like what I'm doing, please consider giving this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more of me Frontosa tanks and what I get up to in the future with me Frontosa, my Lulupi. I've actually got some peppermint bristlenose trapping in the thing at the back, so having fun. Okay guys, take care.